everybody, how you doing? I am Johann. That is Charleston. Joining us today on Better with Age, we have the man who's now the voice of the Riders. He is the man on the sports cage. Joining us today from Regina, Saskatchewan, Mr. Derek Taylor. Derek, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. There's CFL football along. Charleston's Argos are going to get pummeled for the opening 6 weeks. It's going to be amazing.
Oh, wow. He starts on fire too
man.
here.
What direction is this going already?
I forgot to tell you, Derek, I'm an Argo fan too, and I've lived here in Saskatchewan all my life. And I'm an Argo fan. What are the chances that Charleston goes to the Riders? But yeah, that's right. We got to talk about that.
I'm glad you said this too, because I'm fired up. I just left the gym not too long ago, so I still got that post-workout sweat, dripping off my face. So you caught me at the right time when the blood is flowing.
Good.
Man, all kidding aside, the schedule the Argos got presented today, that opening 6 run, 4 times against Hamilton and twice against Winnipeg, like half your season, Charleston, is against the 2019 Grey Cup teams. We will know quick just how good Toronto's last 2 off seasons have been. They look great, but man, you guys are getting tested this year. Oh my gosh.
I wouldn't want it no other way, man. With the amount of athletes that we signed this past off season and during this pandemic and stuff been going on, I feel like we are the best team in the league right now on paper. But we're going to have to practice. We're going to have to put it together and show that we are.
Yeah.
Are you the best team in the East? Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton.
Everybody say that every single year because I haven't been in the East. I'm in the East now, so you gotta realize that makes a difference.
That's a good point, Derek. Both you guys. Now, Hamilton is the defending champs from the East. They've been a powerhouse. I would say they've been probably the powerhouse out of the East for the last how many years?
Them in Ottawa.
Ottawa, yeah, okay. Once in a while they'll go up and they'll go down. But the Argos, that's my team. They really haven't had consistency, I would like to say that. And they're coming in. Your team, Charleston, is coming in. How do you feel about that date of September 17th? Lined up on the schedule.
That's what I'm waiting for. I hope he bring me on the cage too. Just roll me up to the cage so I just come in and just start bashing the whole organization.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Oh, Charleston. No, I'm super excited because just looking at Toronto, to me, Toronto is clearly at worst the number 2 team in the East. They've, in my mind, blown past Montreal. And I mean, they were a 4-win team that beat Ottawa 3 of those times in 2019. They were not a good football team, but man, better at quarterback. The rotation at defensive end, starting with Charleston, come on, that's crazy. The cut down list for the Argos is going to be impressive. So imagine who's left on the roster. But just off the top, Charleston one end, Cordero Law the other, and then oh by the way, there's
Willis.
Depth behind him. Come on,
yeah,
crazy.
Everybody forgets about Odell Willis. Everybody forgets about Sean Ray signing. Right? All the guys in the interior that they have, the linebacker cores, that
Athletes.
they have. Yeah. I mean, the only thing that
defensive backfield, though?
Yeah, well, we got Darby still.
When you got a monster defensive line, that backfield don't have to cover long. You better believe that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But second best defensive line in the East because Hamilton returned everybody, and I hate to keep going back to Hamilton, Charleston, but that front 4, come on. That is just across the board.
But think
Hauser
about that. I know
Wynn
how good you think Hamilton is, but has Hamilton won a Grey Cup in the past 10 years?
Oh, no, they got absolutely mashed in the Grey Cup. But
what about Toronto? Has Toronto won a Grey Cup?
Toronto hasn't won since
2006, 17?
Yeah.
16.
17, he was in Ottawa.
They beat Calgary, right?
They beat Calgary, yeah. Yeah, and so
that
was when you.
Yeah, I know. I got a roll. We got beat by Ricky Ray. I remember it.
Yeah.
Wow. 200-yard touchdowns don't happen at CFL games very often, right? And that was the difference in that. That was my first Grey Cup on the field, and I watched as DeVere Posey goes over top of a guy who I thought was phenomenal in Tommy Campbell, and it was on the sideline I was standing on. I thought, what is going on here? And then 100-yard after Kamar's unfortunate fumble, and you go, I can't believe this is happening. Thank goodness Shania Twain was here to soften the blow of all this. But I honestly, I'm just so jacked. And Charleston, I suspect it's even stronger for you to just be talking about football and how A will do versus B and what this is all going to be like and what can Charleston teach Coney Ely, just stuff like that. I'm so excited to talk about that.
And Derek, one of the things we want to be able to kind of voice to our fans all across North America is, how has it been here in Regina over the vibe over the last few days? Like you mentioned, just the excitement, but you're in, basically, for people that are watching in the States or Charleston's hometown in Saginaw, this is like a college town, right? It's the Canadian Football League, but now with this news going over the last few days that there's finally going to be a season, can you describe to our viewers how the atmosphere is over the last few days here in Regina and with the Riders?
Oh, I've gotten so many texts and calls and neighbors, and it's all socially distanced, of course, because everybody's still kind of uneasy about that. But, oh, my goodness, what about this? When are you coming to Vancouver? Do the Riders play in Calgary this year? So many texts and calls like that people just I haven't talked to in a year. Congratulations on the CFL schedule. Like I actually did something, but the sentiment is I get back to my happy place, which is just grinding through tape and talking to guys and calling games and debating, is Charleston surfing or is he snowboarding or what's happening, right? Honestly, Regina is just so excited, and Saskatchewan as a whole are just so excited about CFL football. There's a date, there's a go-ahead. It'll be more than 600 days between games here in Saskatchewan. And, they are just going to explode on August 6th, the first game here.
Yeah, and how do you think the Riders are going to fare? I know you're going to say you're a little bit biased and be able to do that, but how is the team looking for the people that are outside of Riderville? And Charleston, you can't jump into this. I want to know, Derek.
You saw me. I'm ready to.
We'll ask you. I want to hear Derek's opinion first before we get into Charleston.
Let's start with they're weaker at defensive end than they were in 2019. Let's just and I would say I've been saying that everywhere. To lose Charleston is come on. I mean, what did I have you with? 16 or 18 sacks. I think I probably had you with a couple extra because the CFL doesn't credit them the way I do when I chart stats, but just relentless pressure. So that we'll have to see how they fill in the gap with guys like Freddie Bishop and stuff. When I look at the roster the Riders have put together, I see Jeremy O'Day's done a great job in giving his coordinators flexibility. Okay, we can go Canadian at the field side cornerback. We can go Canadian at will linebacker. We have 4 options in that. We could go 4 Canadians on the offensive line. We have multiple Canadian receivers who could start. So they have flexibility. But when I look at the 2021 Riders on paper versus the 2019 Riders, I don't see a team that's as talented as it was in 2019, or at least that we know is as talented. How vital was Naaman Roosevelt on 2nd and 10 in 2019? And now Naaman plays in Montreal. Okay, well, they have to figure that out. How much of a great influence was Manny Arsenault? Now you have to replace his roster position with a Canadian or potentially a guy who's playing his first game in the CFL. On the defensive side, the back 5 is back. They just signed Dion Lacey. That's a real nice addition, probably that will linebacker spot. So linebackers look good, but what's the deal with the front 4? And do you generate the same amount and type of pressure having lost Charleston? Will be one of the first things I want to see from the Riders this season.
Yeah, no kidding. And from what some of the guys that I've seen, Charleston's former teammates, you know that they're saying they can. Chad Jeter has been one of the best guys on Twitter, along with Mr. Jordan Reeves, who's always talking up a storm to be able to do that. Charleston, have you talked to any of those boys? And have you?
Well, I'm still the rep for the team, so I'm still the player rep for Saskatchewan, and I have to talk to all those guys. But we try to keep it professional at that point because we're talking about each other's contracts and business, and still got to be a leader when it comes to that aspect of everything. But yeah, man, so I talk to Chad Jeter a lot, and I still give him pointers, man. I record all my workouts and the stuff that I do when I'm getting ready for a season. I send it to him because I still want to see him improve because he's still a young player. He hasn't played a full season on a team yet. He's just been kind of a rotational guy. And I think right now could be his opportunity to get more reps, to play more in the season. And, you know, I wish guys like that all the success, especially because I had an opportunity to show him what I can do, how you can do it, and how it should look. So I don't knock opportunities like
on
that.
On the defensive side, like kind of Derek was saying, it's kind of an unknown, you know. But who do you see for the Riders? Some of those guys that might have a breakout season or really start to be able to show up. You've been around those guys for the last few years. Is there anybody that comes out?
I can see Charbel. I can see Charbel having a big monstrous year because he's a really, really, really good Canadian with raw talent and really hasn't even developed and showed what he really can do yet. He just showed flashes. But I think he's going to have a big year. I think Chad Jeter's going to have a big year this year. That secondary, man, that secondary is good. I'll be the first one to tell it. So sometimes when you got a good secondary like that, it makes my job easier, but we kind of complement each other when it comes to D-line and secondary. It's like if the ball's thrown too quick, it's like, man, why don't y'all start pressing? Why don't y'all stop giving up 5-yard passes? Or like when the ball's, you know, the quarterback's patting the ball and throwing deep balls, they're like, man, get to the quarterback. So they're just bantering back and forth amongst each other. So it's a happy medium that you got to find between each other where, you know, I'll get a sack and the secondary goes like, whoo, I was burnt right there. Good job for you. Or I get blocked up and then, boom, the quarterback got enough time for a receiver to run a dig, turn around, and turn it into a corner, and it's wide open. So it's complementary to each other.
Derek, what do you...
Charleston, let me throw something at Charleston, because when I think of defensive end pairings, I'm just going through my mind the ones around the league. When I think of teams that have two really good defensive ends, I wonder if it's because one of them is truly, truly great. Like last year, A.C. Leonard was excellent. He played opposite of you. Last year, Jackson Jeffcoat was phenomenal in Winnipeg, but he played opposite Willie Jefferson. Julian Hauser really came on the scene for a lot of CFL fans in 2019. He played opposite Jagera Davis, who I have loved for a long time with his ability to create pressure. How much of the second guy's success is because of the first guy in your mind?
Oh, it's 100% dictated off that, man. I mean, you always want a guy, a great guy opposite of you because that's where the pressure, that's where the offensive line turns the protection to. So me knowing that I'm the guy that everybody turns the protection to, I have to heavily rely on that other defensive end to go like, look, man, you have to really go and cause pressure because when they decide, hey, on this play, we got to make a play, make sure we block Charleston, that means that's your opportunity because you got a one-on-one to go win. And I'm able to see it, and I can dictate it, and I can tell the other guy and say, hey, it's coming. This your time right now, so you got to go. So sometimes you'll see me flagging the other guy down like, right now.
Time to go. Time to perform. That's not what we'll be watching.
I'm going to watch for that. All right. I got to watch for that now. All right. I like that. The little, is it like this? The little fly hand? Is that what we're doing?
You got to watch his fingers are a little messed up. So once you see the messed up fingers around, you'll be able to know. Derek, let's talk a little bit about the Riders. I want to know a little bit about you personally. You are a guy that you've been around Canada, right? You were at TSN, you were in Winnipeg, you covered the Bisons. You're an Alberta boy, you were saying earlier. What was it like to be able to get the opportunity to come and be the voice of the Riders? And
how did you even get there, really?
Yeah,
like, what the heck
to have that
just popped up I knew he used to drop those little clips and the little videos about players, and we always used to think in Calgary, like, man, who is doing this stuff? Like, this good quality videos and stats, but he's tracking some stuff, and it helps the players, kind of.
How did that come about, and how are you liking it so far?
I love it so far. The chance to call games on a regular basis, apart from the pandemic, has been fantastic. So I love everything about life in Saskatchewan so far. So I had called Manitoba Bison's university games for 9 seasons before I went to TSN back in 2014 because I knew I wanted to do play-by-play, and there's just something about football that I just love. So I got into that, and you do that on your own time and on your own dime, essentially. So that was 9 years of my life, and then I went to TSN. And when I was at TSN, one of the fears that I kind of had was, if I don't do something special, I may get lost in the mix here. Because now when you get to a TSN Sports Center, you are working with elite broadcasters, like the best broadcasters in the country. And you try to think, okay, well, I'm going to need something that makes me stand out because there's a lot of people who can do this and there's a lot of people who can do this. And I was doing the weekends, and because I did a double shift on the weekends, as we called it, I worked 4 days a week. And I thought, I need something to do with my time because 3 days off is a lot when you don't really have a ton of other stuff going on. My wife lived in a different province at the time. She hadn't moved yet to Ontario. So I thought, I wonder if in the 2015 season, if I could watch every CFL game and chart every CFL play. Okay, well, let's see what happens. And man, that first game took me like 5 hours. It was forever. But I got through about 50 games and I went, okay, this is some really cool data. Let me take this to somebody at TSN. So I went to my boss, Ken, and I said, hey, I have this data about the CFL. CFL is really important to us at TSN. I think we could make a segment out of this. Ken thought it was a good idea. So we started doing it in 2016. They hooked me up with a producer named Poria who said, I got the vision. This is going to be a graph paper background. We're going to do animations of the players, and it's going to be awesome. And I thought, that's great. And honestly, the cartoon representations of the players absolutely took it over the top, right? Because guys just, yeah. And then honestly, I learned a lot from it, and I was able to expose people to a lot from it. And one of the proudest ones is I realized early how Micah Johnson, for example, was an absolute force that honestly I might not have noticed the same way than if I studied it. But his constant pressure from the interior was one of the things that, watching every game and tracking who got pressure on every play, really, he was one of the first ones to stand out for me. And he was the first one of the first guys to absolutely man-hug me for exposing the fact that he is a superstar. He gave me a giant hug at the 17 Grey Cup. He's like, yours are the only stats I'll listen to. So I'm like, that's all right.
So
all right.
Is it safe to say that you are like the Canadian version of Moneyball? You are the man that brought the analytics to the CFL here and literally have kind of changed maybe the way that players are going to get paid. They've changed the way their statistics are coming out, right?
Man, I watched it happen for Micah. Micah was like a guy that wasn't really talked about, wasn't really getting the stat line like most guys was, but would be there, but he'd be playing next to me, and it's tough for some guys sometimes because I'm quick when it comes to getting to the quarterback, and it kind of hinders like other people from shining. And I know that, and I hate it sometimes, but when you got guys like that can find a way to pull something great out of a person that really don't shine that much, I thought it was amazing. Like, it helps players. It really does.
Yeah, and there were just trends that maybe when you watch individual plays you don't notice, but pressure from the interior is such a big one. You get so much more respect for Micah Johnson. And honestly, sacks are amazing. Six gods get sacks, whatever, I forget what the Twitter handle is. But sacks don't tell the whole story, right? Because sacks are, by their nature, they're not lucky, but there are certain elements of luck involved, right? You're not going to sack Trevor Harris the way you're going to sack, Dominic Davis, just to pull a quarterback out. Harris, that ball is out so fast. Matt Nichols, let's get the ball out of our hands. And sometimes, pressure is what we really should be considering, and allow me to kind of go, this Jagarrett Davis is actually a guy we need to watch. And then he just destroys the world playing for Hamilton in 19. And you go, okay. The stats the CFL puts out are fantastic, but they can't tell the whole story. There's other things that we can look at and we can count and we can tell people. And then from that, you can do sort of more things more along the lines of Moneyball of, well, let's look at guys who should have had Brad Sinopoli has 23 more catches than an average receiver would over the last 5 years because he's Brad bleeping Sinopoli, right? Yeah. And you can do that by looking at the data that you have, where he's getting his passes and the balls he's caught versus he hasn't. There's certain Moneyball things you can do, and the more data you get, the more cool stuff you can do. At its heart, though, sometimes it's just counting, right? Charleston forced the quarterback off his spot, boom, quarterback pressure. Quarterback's passer rating goes down 50, 60 points in that case. He didn't make the sack, and he feels bad about not making the sack, as I find a lot of defensive ends just are like, if it's not a sack, it sucks. I'm like, Quarterback's passer rating under pressure is like 60. So you've actually done something quite good there by schooling that right tackle. It's allowed me as a fan to open up and learn some more in the way that I learn about the things that guys like Charleston do, if that makes sense. It just kind of opened the game up for me a bit, and I can tell cooler stories to people listening to the games and people listening to my show.
But I think that's amazing because that is the one thing look at the way that statistics has changed baseball. Look at the way that it's changed. And a prime example of Moneyball is that, right? But now to think about that in the CFL, exactly what you said is how the pressures, and it really helps, general managers to be able to look at the salary cap and then look at some of these statistics and say, okay, hey, we might need a guy like Micah Johnson to be able to come in and disrupt the game like he does, because we're going to have this, but we got to fit him into this. That's amazing. Good for you, Derek. I think that's something that you discovered something. You're onto something that's fantastic. I want to get more into that, but we got to go to a commercial break. Once we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about one of Charleston's favorite passions, betting and basketball, and you guys are going to take off on that.
Yeah, we got to talk about betting, basketball. We're going to roll out a little bit of boxing. I might roll out some track and field, NCAA. I watch every single sport that is out there known to man, and I'm going to let you know right now that this next segment is sponsored by MyBookie.
It's that time of year when divisions are decided, champions are crowned, and legends are born. Now, it's your turn to win big. You've heard the name just about everywhere, MyBookie. They're the industry's leading online sportsbook and casino, and it's not hard to understand why. With thousands of lines to bet on all your favorite sports, NFL, NBA, and college ball. Check, check, and check. MMA and soccer, they've got all the latest odds, period. Take advantage of MyBookie's prop builder and live in-game betting, where every single run, throw, and touchdown is another chance for you to put cash in your pocket. Visit their mobile-friendly website today and get your deposit matched halfway up to $1,000. Just use the promo code when you make your first deposit. The best part is they make it simple, with a variety of ways to deposit instantly, including credit card, bank transfer, Bitcoin, and more. Whether you're at home or on the go, on your laptop or on your phone, it's not too late to make your New Year's resolution a resolution to get paid. Bet, win, and get paid at MyBookie.
Hi, my name is Rob Peterson. I'm the broker owner of Realty One in Regina. Real estate and life is about great people, and that's why I'm associated with Charleston Hughes and Johann Charleston and IKS to sponsor the Better with Age podcast. Realty One was founded in Regina 11 years ago. It's an independent brokerage, it's local, and it's full of great people helping great local Regina people buy and sell properties. It's entrepreneurial based, which means you have non-narcissistic agents that have your best interest in mind, not their own. In these coronavirus times, real estate market right now in Regina and Saskatchewan is thriving because people are thinking more local, they're not thinking about traveling because we can't, and that's driving our market. When you hire a realtor, no matter who it is, no matter what company, please interview them. Please make sure they're a good personal fit for you, because that's what this is all about. It's good people connecting themselves with someone that they know has their best interest in mind. And that's what the Realty One family does, and that's what a lot of agents in Regina do. But make sure you take your time and find the best fit for you and your family.
And we're back with the man, Derek Taylor. Derek, now, before the break, we were talking a little bit about basketball and betting. Two of Charleston's loves.
Are you a gambler, man? I think
I'm on Team Bodog, baby.
I was about to say we've made a bet before, and I did win that bet.
Did we make just one? Because I know I lost one to you. I lost the Zion Williamson bet to you because it was a pretty bold of me to take that. I was trying to think if we'd made another that is pending, but yeah, full props to you for. I think my bet was solid, but it just didn't come through. Right? You were going to pay me $62 if Zion did this, and I was going to pay you $39 for your number if Zion didn't, and then COVID just about wrecked the whole thing, right?
Oh, don't blame it on COVID.
Well,
but COVID
the season got shortened.
Yeah, the season got shortened, but I don't think he was on pace.
So
oh no, there's no chance. So once they resume the season, I'm like, no, I have to DM Charleston and pay him out for this, because this is close enough. I don't want $39 to linger. Like it's only $39, right? Like Charleston would be. You could be mad at me forever for welshing on a bet if I didn't pay out. So I'm like, no, we're just getting this done. Like, man, that's fine.
If you know anything about Charleston, he won't let you forget it. Never mind the $39. It's now bragging rights.
Yeah,
and
I'm about to say, I know
he's going to bring it on every time.
But I ain't going to forget that.
So let's talk a little bit about basketball. Basketball is getting very interesting. We're now down to, a lot of the series are tied 2-2.
Bucks Nets tonight.
Oh, Bucks Nets tonight.
Tied
no
at Kyrie,
2-2.
no Kyrie.
I'm going to let you talk with Charleston. Well, who are you taking now with, who do you think is going to go to the finals? And we'll go ask Derek about the same thing.
I'm convinced. I'm a Bucks fan. I'm a Greek Freak fan, but I'm convinced that the Bucks are going to pull this off. I know everybody's kind of adamant about James Harden coming back and pulling it off with KD, but I think KD is the only person they got to stop. Everybody else is kind of hindered for the most part. I know James Harden. He's going through some bumps and aches and pains and stuff, so he's not going to be the same guy. But KD can be hurt and still just dominate the game just because. He's KD.
So
he's probably the best scorer of all time, if you ask me.
So you're taking the Bucks over the Nets. Who are you taking on the Sixers Hawks?
Trey's hurt.
Trey's not hurt. How is he hurt?
He got some shoulder issues that he's dealing with. Yeah, Trae Young, he's not the same no more either. So I'm gonna have to go with the Sixers, man. Sixers gonna pull it off.
Okay, Derek, what's your take on these two series?
The Nets are in such a glorious position, right? You have three absolute superstars that if you lose one, you're fine. If you lose two, like if Harden isn't back, that's a real problem, because that guy, is he the best one-on-one player in the history of the NBA? Like with the way they officiate him?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
No, don't even start that.
He'll leave a game with 20 foul shots.
Offensive, okay, 101, you're saying one category. He has no defensive skills whatsoever. He retires once it's defensive. Sure. Offensively, yeah, but how can you say some of the guys in the past that aren't as just as good as him? I'll give you that. He is offensively, but he's one-sided. But
all right.
But
absolutely. When he tries his hardest, he's average-ish on defense. But when you're asked to carry that, like the load that dude carried in Houston, I wouldn't care if he played a lick of defense, because man. But now, if Harden is back, the Nets are the runaway favorite. But health is everything, and to lose two of those guys is so problematic. I fully believe the Sixers pull this out, though. The way Ben Simmons has developed from what we thought he might be to the player he is now, I did not think this was going to be Ben Simmons of he still can't shoot the basketball at all-world defender, point guard, but hey, just go stand below the basket on offense because we know you can't shoot, is such an interesting career arc for the first overall pick in the draft.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're saying, then who are you taking on the West? On that side of the ball?
What's that? Clippers and Jazz? Where's that 2-2. One at? Is that 2-2? What's that?
Yeah, it's 2-2 right now.
2-2 as of last night. Clippers came back, dominated that game, and now it's going to best of three series, with Utah holding home court advantage.
Yeah, in my heart, I kind of want people to get off Paul George's back, so I want the Clippers to win in that case, because Paul George has taken a lot of crap in the last little bit. And
he hasn't been playing good, man.
Well, and that's probably why. And there may have been some outsized expectations for Paul George that he developed in Indiana that he hasn't really fully followed up on. When they trade the absolute farm to get you because they know Kawhi's coming as well, man, that's hard. That trade is not going to look great, 10 years down the road when we see the full impacts of it. The Clippers, but man, the Suns, if Chris Paul is healthy, Chris Paul is probably one of the most underappreciated NBA players ever. And he's probably, the third best point guard of all time? Like,
with assists, scoring, all that, yeah. If you put it all into the play.
Magic, Stockton, Chris Paul, he has been a god for ever. And he wasn't even the first. I don't think he was the first point guard taken that year in his draft, the Darren Williams. Oh, sorry, he was ahead of Darren Williams. I have to go back. God, I'm so old. Everything's so long ago.
That is a long time ago. Yeah.
I want it to be the Suns. I want it to be the Suns out of the West. I just feel like the Suns between Chris Paul, Devin Booker. That's where I want it to go.
And who do you say takes it all?
Man, Donovan Mitchell is playing lights out right now.
Okay, so who are you saying it takes it all? We'll go with Derek first. Who are you saying wins the NBA championship this year?
Donovan Mitchell is the best player in the playoffs right now.
It's his turn.
Oh,
Let
yeah,
him finish. Quit interrupting.
I kind of don't want it to be the Nets, but I have a tough time thinking that the Nets aren't going to. You know what? Let's go Sixers. I love Joel Embiid with all my heart. Let's go Sixers. I'm taking the 1 seed out of the East.
Okay, and who are you taking, Charleston?
Ooh, if I'm trying to think, got to think hard. If I'm gonna put it on it, I like the Sixers too, man.
What are you talking about? You're jumping on his, really? After all that about Donovan Mitchell,
Man, but he's playing lights out right now. It'd be tough.
All right, you guys are taking that. I'm taking the Clippers. I'm taking somebody totally different. Nice. I'm going to be able to jump in on that and say that. The winner, if we have something, if we're going to bet on Bodog or mybookie.com, we'll come up with something on the side for the winners after that and see what happens.
Maybe we could come up with something like that.
There you go. There you go. Now, Charleston, you wanted to ask Derek about all kinds of other sports.
I got all kinds of other sports. We can switch gears for the Canadian sport. You know, everybody loves hockey in Canada. NHL. What about the Habs? They've been getting smacked up by it.
You see the way that he imitates Canadians?
What about the Habs?
Canada's team.
In this building,
hockey's no basketball. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Who are you taking in hockey, Derek? With quickly.
Oh, Vegas. Vegas Islanders final. Vegas wins it.
There you go. That's a pretty. And Charleston?
I would love that matchup. You know, Vegas Islanders, just because. Why?
Because we had Jordan Reeves and Ryan Reeves on the show, and Ryan Reeves currently wants to fight Charleston after he's done his football career on the ice and teach him how to do that. And we had on Jordan Eberle on, and Jordan Eberle is going to teach him how to be able to play, score goals after two. So we had two former guests. We'd love to be able to see them compete in the Stanley Cup.
Imagine that. Two former guests that have been on our show and they're in the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I know.
Man, we got to go.
Yeah, well, now you're talking. Now we're doing the Vegas trip and be able to do that. Let's go. But who are you going to take, Charleston?
Vegas is a strong team, man. I'm going to have to go with Vegas. They're tough. They're physical. They can score. I'm going to have to go with Vegas,
all right.
100%.
Everybody's taking Vegas. Again, you guys are the same thing. I'm going to go total opposite. I'm taking the Lightning in 6 over Vegas. I'll say Vegas is going to be there, but I'll take the Lightning in 6. So, yeah.
Now we're going to get away from this Canadian hockey stuff, and we're going to go to one of my favorite sports. We're going to go to boxing. So there's talks about Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder fighting again. If they fight again, who wins round 3? Who wins 3 this time?
Is that fight going to happen, or does one of them have to fight like Logan Paul or Jake Paul or Chris Paul first?
No.
Boxing's a joke. Boxing's the worst.
They'd make more money on those YouTube. Well, apparently more than you would on the UFC fights. Those guys are getting paid peanuts. I mean, Nate Diaz got paid like $500,000 to get his head smashed in. And that Logan Paul, like you said, $20 million.
And especially after watching Floyd Mayweather and what he did to Logan Paul, I'm ready to roll out on him too. I drop 20 pounds to get in there and beat him up.
Okay, so now Charleston's in there too. Okay, so is the fight happening?
There are talks about it happening right now. I saw a lot of clips of Deontay Wilder training. I think he busted his eardrum in that last fight, so that's what put him out, and that's why he say he lost the fight. But I think it was because Tyson Fury just boxed him very well.
So, Derek, are you a big boxing fan? Obviously, you don't like boxing. You think it's a joke.
Yeah.
Or what?
I grew up watching boxing in the 80s where there were a bunch of weight classes that you cared about. In the last decade, like boxing is about, 5 guys now that are really worth watching. Like I'll watch Canelo, Gennady Golovkin, Lomachenko, I feel like just got beaten last time.
Yep.
The heavyweights, I haven't I haven't thought much about heavyweight boxing since Roy Jones beat whoever the heavyweight champion was back when John. That was a while ago.
John Joshua?
Like,
No.
John Ruiz. I can't believe I pulled that name out of the air. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh!
For you, yeah, that's a long time.
Like after De La Hoya, Trinidad, and before Roy Jones became 50-year-old Roy Jones stepping in with Mike Tyson, boxing just lost its way because there's too many chefs in the kitchen, right? UFC goes, we want this fight. We're making this fight between the best fighter in the world and the second best fighter in the world. Let's go. Boxing is this interminable dance of one guy doesn't want to fight the other, and it's honestly eaten itself up. So I've lost so much for it.
I can't give you that. It's the sport of boxing has been like outweighed by like UFC because it's more bloody and it's more bare knuckle type. But I still watch boxing. I still watch like the main guys, the guys you just said, like Canelo. I watch Gervonta Davis. I watch Tyson Fury. I watch Deontay Wilder. I watch all those guys still. And I think they're still good fighters. I think they still put on the show. Just like if Floyd Mayweather fights anytime, he's still going to roll out.
Man.
He's still going to roll out HBO. It's still going to sell out every time Floyd Mayweather steps in the ring.
He was hugging, guys now. No. I'm with Derek. I like the old school. I like the guys that Julio Cesar Chavez was, because I'm Hispanic. That was the real boxer back in the day. That was the guy that fought over 100 times and had the record. Boxing now, I'm going, and I loved Mike Tyson back in the day, and Sugar Ray Leonard, and Marvelous Marvin Hagler, and that. Now boxing, no.
All right, since y'all just pooped on my storm just like that, we can go ahead and switch gears again.
Here's the thing where boxing lost me, Charleston. We should have had Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. I feel like I was on my honeymoon in 2010 when we're like, are we getting this Manny Pacquiao Mayweather fight? And they didn't do it till long after they should have, because they couldn't agree on what the hell ever. And I thought these were the two prime boxers, and what a stylistic matchup that would have been had we gotten those two guys at their peak, and boxing never delivered it. Dana White would have said, you're getting that on July 4th weekend because I'm Dana White and I run this whole thing. But boxing with competing promoters just can't get out of its own way. And that's honestly where they lost me. That was probably the final straw, that I never got Pacquiao Mayweather at a real time.
I agree in doing that. Well, Derek, we know that you got to go right away. We really want to say thank you. I want to get one more bet on mybookie.com for you. What is going to be the over-under for Sax Charleston versus the Saskatchewan Roughriders on September 17th when he's here back in Regina? What do you think the over-under line should be for Charleston and Sax?
Who the offense tackles for Sask?
It'll be Taron Vaughn and Jacoby Cofield, probably.
Okay.
Does that matter? Does that matter, Charleston?
No, I just want to see if he knew, just so he can think about it right now. So now he can think about me against them.
So what's the mybookie.com over-under for Charleston Sax September 17th, Derek? What are you giving us?
Can I ask? I need one answer from Charleston to give you a correct answer.
All right.
Charleston Hughes, have you studied the film on Cody Fajardo's little shoulder fake where he then spins out behind you? Have you studied that?
I would never fall for that.
Then I'm going to go over under 1.5. I set the over under at 1.5, and I probably go to the over.
Okay, here we go. That's a great prop line that we're going to have for that September 17th game. We're looking forward to it as fans. I know that. Probably Charleston, you're already buzzing, just ready to do that. Derek, we really appreciate you coming on the show. It's great to hear your voice now talking again about Riders. I know that listeners can hear you on your sports cage every day on the CKR.
620 CKRM.
CKRM.
Yep. 620 CKRM's online at 620CKRM.com. You can get the podcast. It's every day, 4 to 6:30 Saskatchewan time, so 6 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern time for anybody who wants to use that time zone to figure it out. We talk a ton of CFL, and man, when Charleston plays against the Riders, we're going to talk a ton of Charleston Hughes. It's going to be awesome, dude.
I'm ready.
That is awesome. We're going to be listening all the time, so thank you very much. Charleston always ends the show with his famous last words.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show, man. I appreciate this. I know it was a little last minute, but you know what? You answered the call, man, and this was a great show. Glad I had the opportunity to chat with you for a little bit. Yeah, now the interview came from the other side. I know you've interviewed me a lot, but I want to interview you. I want to talk to you about some stuff.
And see how open I was? Not like that game. Remember the game against BC where the center was doing the head bob thing, and I asked you about that, and you absolutely denied that was a thing? I'm like, Charleston, give me the clip I want. I saw it happen. I charted it happen, and you won't tell me the smart thing you did and told AC Leonard about? So you got to be open with the
how about this? Because I don't play for Saskatchewan no more, I will 100% tell you that's the one thing that I do let all my players know, is because I am very tedious about watching every single detail on anybody on the field. Like any competitive advantage that I can get, I use it to my advantage, and I kind of show the defensive line that, look, man, you got to pay attention to everything. You can't let nothing go past you. So if it's a little detail about a toe move to the right, and that toe move again to the right, you better pay attention that toe might mean something to you on the field, and you got to use it to your advantage. So that head fake was a distinct giveaway from me getting off that ball and having a competitive advantage to get into the quarterback.
Oh, and you used it liberally that day. You and AC had a great game that day in BC. It was awesome to see.
Yeah, but man, this is the Better with Age webcast. The reason we call it the Better with Age webcast, because there's many things that get better with age. There's wine, there's whiskey, there's leather, there's cheese. Do you like cheese?
Oh, come on. Absolutely. Look at me. There's the cheese face right here. Come on.
Yeah, but the most important thing of them all is friendships, man. And over the years, I've watched you drop all those stats. Micah gave you a hug. Me and Micah had many conversations about you, saying like, hey, man, he's helped my career so much by dropping these stats. So even though you didn't know it, your piece fell out. Now you know it, man. But now you're one of our friends of the Better with Age webcast. So thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Thanks, Derek. Take care.